Licensing requirements, there's gonna be two types of licensing requirements to take into consideration. There's gonna be your adult day licensing requirements. Now, every single state is so completely different. Some states have no licensing requirements. Some other states, they have very intense licensing requirements. Some requirements make no sense. Some requirements you're like, why is it even there? It doesn't even apply to what I'm trying to do. And these are some of the struggles you're gonna have to overcome. So the first thing you wanna do is look into your state governing body. Is there a governing body that oversees assisted living or home care? And if so, within that governing body, is there potentially a department, or maybe do they know of someone that oversees the adult day licensing side of things? If so, that would be the point of contact where you maybe can go and find out a little bit more about your rules and your regulations in your state, and it's gonna depend heavily on what state you're in. If you're in Florida, you would go to the Agency on Healthcare Administration. They, also known as ACA, they would be the ones that help provide you the information as far as regulations and what you need to have. When it comes to administrator requirements, some states are kind of weird that the administrator may have to have certain qualifications, and if you're the owner, do you qualify or meet those, qualifications that an administrator would need to have in order to run the place? So in order for you to maybe go out and start this business, you might have to find an administrator that has those qualifications. PFA forms are proof of financial ability. Not every state may have this, but some states could. That particular form is basically proving to the state that you can financially afford to open and then operate your adult day center. When it comes to policies and procedures, it is going to be important, maybe to reach out to maybe some consulting firms in the adult day space that provide policies and procedures that are already maybe pre-done and kind of create a base of information for you to start, and have something to work with that you can kind of customize, but they give you kind of the basic understanding of what the policies and procedures need to be made of. Also, you might want to understand when it comes to staff training requirements. What does that look like in your area? What types of training does your staff need to have in order to work in this environment? Is it something that they need to go to school for, or is it something that you can provide them with training in-house? Those things to take into consideration. That's on the adult day licensing side. Now, when it comes to building requirements, this is a totally different animal. And this is really more about zoning. And is the building that you're looking at, is it appropriately zoned to be able to be an adult day center? Because every building, every property has certain zoning requirements, and those zoning requirements kind of dictate what can go into that space. And what's frustrating is because adult day is not as well known as some other industries, your area that you might be in, there just may not be a lot of information on it, and you might need to really go spend some time with the county or with your local officials to figure out, hey, how is this going to be qualified? What does this fall under? What kind of restrictions am I going to have as an adult day center in this building? Do I need to have it potentially rezoned? So these are things to take into consideration. When it comes to fire inspections, what do the fire inspection, or what is the fire, what's the fire requirements, in your area? Every area is kind of, ran differently. Every town might be ran differently, every county, every city. So you have to understand, because the fire department may require that you have a fire sprinkler system in place, or it may require you have a fire alarm system in place, or they might limit the amount of people that can be inside the building based on fire code. But then the zoning department might say that you could have more people, but then you go to the health department and you only have so many bathrooms, and you might only be able to have, you might not be able to have as many people as what zoning potentially said, or as what fire said. And so all of these things, when it comes to the building and the construction side of things, may affect the number of people that you might be able to have in your space. And that doesn't even take into consideration what the license might restrict. So it's important to understand the zoning, the fire, the health department. Do you have septic tanks on the property? If you do, your septic tanks might limit your capacity simply because of the capacity of the septic tanks. They may not be big enough, so you might have to add more. Are you on a sewer system? If so, again, what's acceptable as far as capacity? That might being on a sewer system tied into the infrastructure in that town, you may not have a limitation there, but if you're in septic, you could. When it comes to emergency management department, you're gonna have to get with them and figure out what type of emergency management plan you would have to have in place. Some areas might be really strict, especially if you're in an area where maybe there's tornadoes or kind of certain weather events that could come out of nowhere. Typically in Florida, we're obviously worried about hurricanes, so we're dealing with all that fun jazz, you know? But the nice part about it is that for the most part, you know, in adult day in Florida, like we know when a hurricane's coming. So it's not like the end of the world because we can plan to potentially close during the time that the hurricane might be heading our way. But in your area, you might need to get with your emergency management department to figure out what requirements, you know, do they have. Hey guys, thank you so much for joining me. If you'd like to learn how to open your own adult daycare center, go to adcpro.com. If you'd like the latest business tips, click here, and make sure you subscribe to our channel, click here. We'll see you guys next time.